Hi, everyone. Welcome along to our weekly devotion. Um, I want you to think with me today about the gospel according to Murex Bandaris. I'm always intrigued by the Bible character referred to and known as Lydia. She was a seller of purple, or possibly more correctly, a dealer in purple. And so we read about her in Acts chapter 16, verses 14 to 15. Luke writes this with you about the account of her conversion and Paul's ministering at that point in time. He writes, a God-fearing woman named Lydia, a dealer in purple cloth from the city of Thyatira, was listening, obviously, to Paul. The Lord opened her heart to respond to what Paul was saying. And after she and her household were baptized, she urged us, speaking of Paul, if you consider me a believer in the Lord, come and stay at my house. And she persuaded us. So they went and they stayed at her house, obviously, and ministry began. The year was 49 AD. Paul had just arrived in the city of Philippi. And soon after his arrival, he meets this lady known as Lydia. She was originally from the city of Thyatira in the Roman province of Asia, which is today known to us as modern Turkey. And she was of Greek descent, but she had come amazingly to believe the claims of the Old Testament and what they claimed and said about God. So it had become her custom, because of that, then to meet with women regularly, to pray and to worship, with meeting with these Jewish ladies, to pray and to worship. She was discovering God. And with her being a dealer in purple, this meant that she either sold the purple dye, which was very famous, or else she sold the clothing that was already dyed in purple. That's a little uncertain. And this, however, whatever position she was in, it enabled her to become quite wealthy. And so verse 14 tells us that the Lord had graciously opened her heart to believe the message of salvation as proclaimed by Paul. And because of this, she then encourages Paul to use her home as his ministry base in the city of Philippi. And all of this proved very successful. And so from that, the New Testament church in Philippi was planted. She was an integral part of that. But what intrigues me is, why does Scripture even mention the fact that Lydia was a dealer in purple? Well, what is that about? It can be a struggle for us to appreciate the importance of that phrase today and the influence that Lydia might have held in that particular society of her day. But way back in 2 Chronicles chapter 2, verse 7, we see King Solomon building the temple, and we read of a request for an artisan who is skilled in engraving to work with gold and silver and bronze and iron, and with purple, crimson, and blue yarn. So purple as a color, it seems, was greatly valued in these times. And with all of that, let's meet Murex Bandaris. And before you think that this is some great Roman emperor, let me tell you that Murex Bandaris is actually a sea snail. From the secretion of this sea snail, purple dye could be manufactured. Around 12,000 snails had to be harvested to obtain 0.05 ounce of dye. However, this dye was worth more at the time than its weight in gold, so causing purple fabrics to be sold at extortionate prices. The middle and upper classes of society of that day, they loved purple so much, and they wanted to have purple on their garments as a kind of status symbol. So they would have maybe a purple trim, or it'd be a purple dye on the garment, or some sort of purple statement on their garment, showing that, you know what, I've got wealth behind me, I've got stature, I'm in a prominent position in this society. But I don't think Paul was overly interested in purple. But God wanted to use Lydia, this dealer in purple, to be somewhat involved in birthing this new church in the city of Philippi. So God used a small snail, Murex Bandaris, for his greater glory. This little snail produced this stuff, this dye, this purple potential dye that would change and transform a society. So God was using that. If God was willing to use that, I think God can use you today in his church for his greater glory in whatever capacity he wants to. So like Murex Bandaris, I want to encourage you to be willing to give whatever it is you have, however insignificant, what your talents are, your giftings are, however insignificant they may seem to you, but to use them for the building up of his church today. You can be like a Murex Bandaris and share the gospel in that way today. I hope you have a great day. I hope you're blessed. Hope you're encouraged. Keep pressing on. And remember the little story of Murex Bandaris, and remember how the gospel spread to Philippi, all involving a little element, a little sea snail, and the purple dye. Be blessed as you think of your future and your involvement in his church. Thanks for listening. Catch you soon.